Alright, so this is my telescope, and I'm just gonna bullshit a little bit about why it's like this. Uh, Now, I made this thing when I was like early 20s, probably smoking too much stuff, probably still am, but let's go over some stuff and why I actually think this setup, well, I'll tell you why there's that tube on the top of it, how about that? And why it's kind of better than having a short Cassegrain like a a C14, something that's like 10 grand, 9 grand for a telescope. This is built with parts, and the mirror was 300 bucks. So that's the main mirror. Now that's a 13-inch mirror, and it's kind of an old mirror. Yeah, so what I was saying about like a C14 Cassegrain that's 10 grand, they have to compress all that zoom factor into a short tube. And I feel like when you do that, it's fine for like zooming in on the craters, but this thing just works great on a full moon. And I think that has a lot to do with just the long focal length of the mirrors. So that mirror is a 13.1 inch Coulter mirror. I think it was made in like the 60s or the 70s. Now that mirror up at the top is a 4-inch mirror out of a telescope from an Orion tabletop. So this mirror down here is an f4.5, and that's an f4, and together it basically makes an f20. So before there's any lenses, I already have an f20 zoom. So it pretty much is like I put the camera in and I can see 65% of the moon. It just takes up the whole thing on the camera before any lenses or anything like that. There'd be no lenses on the camera, which is called prime focus, just the sensor. That bag's on there because the neighbor's got a lot of lights, and now it's kind of acting like a sail, so that's kind of a negative. But yeah, I mean, like, you get all those lenses and all those fancy cuts to get a really high f number and a lot of zoom in a big scope like that. You kind of lose something. I'm not really sure what, but it's something. Where this is almost like there's maybe a little more give, because these mirrors are not even designed for each other. Not only are these mirrors not designed for each other, they're not even cut properly. This mirror, I read about its history, and it's not even cut properly from the factory. That mirror is that tabletop Orion telescope, and that, I guarantee you, that mirror's pretty bad too. I set up a test where you could, it's called a Ranchi test, I think, where you use a laser and some lines, and you set the mirror up across the room, and you can look at the curve of the mirror. And that one up there, it's got a big, like if this was the mirror, it has like a big circle dish that shouldn't be there. And it's probably more spherical, which is just like the cheaper way to make a mirror. And even though I think it claims to be parabolic, but it would be great if it was perfectly parabolic, or it's supposed to be elliptical, not elliptical, ellipsoidal, something like that, something with an E. Yeah, maybe one day I'll take it off and I'll try to grind it and send it out to be recoded, so it would be more proper for this. But I think the longer you go, the less you have to have the tolerances right. So if this was like an this right here, if I unscrew that, then it's totally free. So I screw that one in, that'll lock it. Now if I want to use the motor, I just unlock this one, and then I can lock the motor in. There, now the motor, now the vertical is locked in. And then for horizontal, I could do a similar thing. I could lock it manually right there, so now it won't turn that easily. Undo that, and then I just screw this in. Now the motor's engaged. And doing it that way is nice, so you don't break any gears. And these are windshield washer motors. There's actually a little more play in there than I'd like there to be, but it's almost a good thing, because if you do bump it while the motors are engaged, nothing really bad happens. I haven't broke any gears yet or anything. And then the weight is adjustable. It just slides, and we got adjustability on the mirror. The spider is kind of adjustable, and then of course you got the I got this adjustable, and then that.